You're now listening to the Cerberus Gridiron Podcast. And now your hosts, Christian and Chris, powered by Cerberus Fantasy Sports.
Yo, what it is, what it do, how is everybody doing out there? Welcome back to episode two of the Cerberus Gridiron Podcast. I am your host, Christian, and we have the co-host right here, Mr. Chris Camp.
What up, everybody? Thank you all for joining. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.
Yes. So we're gonna have some little fun here. We're gonna have some fun. Like this podcast, we're gonna talk about the top 12 running backs versus ADP, and we're gonna be looking at underdogs ADP. So
our top 12 running backs
in the same area, which is really shocking that Bijan is actually being drafted that high as a rookie, which means it makes me think that everybody out there thinks he's going to be doing big numbers, sort of similar to what Saquon did.
His rookie year. Is it shocking though?
It's shocking. It's just, I guess, it's just like that Christmas time. Everybody want to play with that new toy. So,
right.
But then you also you got Jonathan Taylor right there at 16.2. Then you got Saquon Barkley coming in. You got Nick Chubb, old man Nick Chubb. Then you have Tony Pollard, actually at 22.2, like late second round, which he should be able to do some big things for Dallas this year, based off of Zeke leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Derek.
Comments later. Go ahead.
Then you got Derrick Henry right there. Then you also got Josh Jacobs, which is very interesting right there. We'll see how that ADP looks later on, since he's actually been holding out. And then it's the same with Jonathan Taylor and Saquon up there. But then you got Breece Hall right there at 30.8. Then you got Najee Harris at 37.7. Then rounded it off at 13, you got Travis Etienne at 38.6. And 14, it is Jahmyr Gibbs at 41. But then you have at 15th, you got Kenneth Walker, 51.9. which is quite interesting. So just looking at this list and everything like that, there are some players on there that I think that physically are probably being drafted a little bit too high. But this is underdog, and we know that everybody is playing and paying for money up on underdog, which is always a good platform just to do if you're trying to get your mock drafts on, because you have other people that are actually serious about the drafts and everything. So what are your thoughts about this top 15, Chris?
I mean, it's pretty chalky, right? Obviously Christian McCaffrey came off a great year last year, non-injury year. I think he was number 2. Austin Eckler was number 1 overall. Of course, you got the hype of Bijan coming in, and how the Atlanta Falcons, they run the ball 80% of the time, 70% of the time, whatever it is. Then you have Jonathan Taylor, right?
Yep.
Looking for him to have a bounce back year.
Yeah, because he was the preseason 1 last year and finished
coming off 1,800 yards.
I think not to be. I think he finished at 31st overall.
31st,
33rd, 31st, 33rd.
Yeah, he had some injuries though.
Injuries, and the offensive line wasn't as good as well.
He had old Matt Ryan throwing the ball, so now that you have an infusion of youth, right, with the quarterback. Yeah. So looking for him to be big things. Saquon, so obviously they're assuming that Saquon will re-sign and will be with the Giants. Then you have, Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt is gone. So Nick Chubb might be there. He might be all there, all 3 downs. I can't remember who's their backup right now.
You got Jerome Ford out there as their backup.
Jerome Ford, right. So, I think Nick Chubb will have a huge volume year this year, personally, in my opinion. You got Tony Pollard, Zeke's going, so they think the same thing for him as far as Nick Chubb. You got Derrick Henry, Old Faithful pushing through. Josh Jacobs, we had a great year last year. I can see that. Ramondre Stevenson, now that Damon Harris is gone. Breece Hall coming in at 11. He before he had his ACL injury, he was probably going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. So he had a clean break. It was a clean ACL tear. Nothing wrong with his MCL or meniscus. So yeah, can see that. Najee Harris, obviously the line's getting a little bit better. He should still have a good workload. Then you got Travis Etienne. They did draft. Who did they draft?
Bixby.
Tank Bigsby. Mm-hmm. But obviously Travis Etienne is a starter. We know Dougie P likes to run, dual running back. So then you got Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Not the Giants, but the Lions moved up to 12 to grab him and was very excited. And then you got Kenneth Walker. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year. They did draft Charbonnet. I think the same round they drafted Kenneth Walker Jr. Kenneth Walker III. It shocked me. So, yes, long story short, I'm sorry to go through everybody. I can see why they have it and how they have it. I can understand that. But, as we're going to come in and give you some nuance, right, into our picks and why we think some of these picks might not be in the right order.
No, it's not in the right order. It's more of let's see how we like certain players over. This is the average draft position, though. This is other people up in the world. So everybody has their own opinion and things like that. But let's go and take a look at the next couple of top 30. These other running backs that was actually here.
Let's do some honorable mentions that you feel like that you like.
Well, currently right now we have we still got some of the remaining top 30 running backs that are actually being drafted. Looking at their ADP, like we got Joe Mixon right there at 16, who could actually be pretty decent this year, right? Depending on what ends up happening. Like,
I think that they're obviously keeping him, right? Mm-hmm. And their offensive line did get a little healthier, right? I think they added some pieces too. So, and Joe Burrow, he's gonna make you keep you honest. So he's gonna have them. Those rushing lanes could be open for Joe Mixon. Agreed.
Yep. Then we also got Aaron Jones out there, especially with Aaron Rodgers gone. We think it's going to be interesting to see how Jordan Love works well with Aaron Jones up in the backfield. Then we got J.K. Dobbins right here, who is he was slightly still injured last year, but he is recovering and is actually looking better this year. So his average draft position is like 56.5. Then you have 19 Miles Sanders, which ended up signing with Carolina this year. So he's being drafted at 66 or 62.5.
He's the lead back there.
He is the lead back, which the way Carolina is, they did draft Bryce Young at the number 1 overall pick. Drafted him there, which having a running back with his caliber would be pretty good just to get the pressure off him and everything. Then you also have Dameon Pierce right there, which is, I think he's in a good situation as well, similar to Miles Sanders, with having another rookie there in C.J. Stroud for the Houston Texans.
They did not draft a running back, so that was key. I was kind of shocked about that. I was kind of shocked.
Which means D'Amico Ryans actually has faith up in Dameon Pierce and like what he has. And then we also have, this is a shocker right here at 21. We got Alexander Mattison, which his average draft position is 65.7. But by the time the season starts, I can see that getting up into the 30s, maybe even the slight 20s with Dalvin gone.
Really? You can see that moving up?
Yeah, because a lot of people are just going to go frenzy with him. And they're thinking that we can just talk about him later on maybe. But I think personally that Alexander Mattison, I could see him going up into the top 20s because of Dalvin leaving.
So I guess what my shocking face was do you agree with that, or you just think that this is how people are going to do with moving to ADP?
I slightly agree with it. I could see it happening.
Interesting. From 65 to low 20s.
Yeah,
Wow.
like late second round, maybe early third. That's where I could see him roughly going.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Early third.
I'll be around like pick 25, 26, 27, or 28. I can see him
So
going around that.
that's around, per the ADP, that's around Josh Jacobs at 28. Then Ramondre was at 26 ADP. Derrick was at 25. So you chat around. He's moving up that high.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
And then at 22 right now, we have DeAndre Swift, which is being drafted at 76.1. Since he did just recently sign with the Eagles, that will be very interesting to see how he works off, and hopefully he can end up staying healthy this year.
Right. I do think I do think he'll be the lead back for them starting off the season.
Starting off, like, you don't think he's gonna finish like the whole season, or you think?
Well, I mean, he's injured. He's injury prone, right? I think if he doesn't get injured, he will be their number one running back on the depth chart the whole season if he doesn't get injured.
Okay. And then also we got Dalvin Cook, which I think this is he's being drafted at 76.9 right now, average draft ADP. But I think that's going to end up falling, like going down until he actually signs.
Until he signs. Okay. Until he signs. Okay.
Like once he signs with the team, it might just go right back up to like where he's normally being drafted. But a lot of people don't think he still has it up in the tank or anything. But then at 24, we have Cam Akers, which is at 77.3, which if many people don't know, Cam Akers was the running back for last year up in the last 4 games of the season up in PPR stats. So
he got out the doghouse. He did.
So he did get out the doghouse, but then I think he was finally happy just to be just the guy. Mm-hmm. And he was able to show McVay like what he can actually do. But then it was also with really nobody up on the team there. So like you didn't have no Cooper Kupp, you didn't have no Stafford. So it was just Baker Mayfield just giving him the rock. So we will see how that does impact this year, which if Matthew Stafford is out there and Cooper Kupp is out there as well, he might be able to do some numbers this year, maybe a little bit higher than 24.
Right. I agree.
Then we have the 7th round rookie, Isaiah Pacheco at 80.8. Isaiah did real well last year. So his ADP right now, roughly, they have him drafted in, what's that, like the 7th round almost?
Mm-hmm.
So like late 6th, early 7th, which is pretty decent just to get him on like a RB3, RB4 tier type of running back. You got Rashad White at 85. Like, what are your thoughts about him this year?
He's the only one they have, right? I mean, do they have anybody else behind him? So, and
they got rookies behind him, but
yeah, I think he'll get a bulk of the carries. He will get a bulk of the carries. They will be a run-first offense. Yeah, I see Baker is the starting quarterback. So, yeah, they're going to be a run-first offense. He'll get the volume, I think.
Do you think he can do similar numbers to what Leonard Fournette did last year?
What were Leonard Fournette numbers?
He rushed for like 1,000 yards, I think.
I can see 1,000 yards.
And then you have like maybe
8 touchdowns,
500 plus receiving yards also as well.
So he rushed for his career. He only had 668 yards.
He only did.
Yeah, 3 rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
He had 523 yards receiving and 3 receiving touchdowns. So I would give Rashad White, 1,000 yards, 6 to 8 touchdowns on the ground, maybe another 3 in the air, good 400 yards. So I can see 1,400, 1,500 yards from scrimmage and maybe 12 touchdowns. Because, I don't know who else they have outside of him. So he will get the rock. He will get the opportunities.
Don't they have Zach Evans, like the rookie?
No, Zach Evans went to he's behind Cam Akers.
Okay. Then
He with the Rams.
Then they got the guy from Syracuse then.
That's not Chase Brown, right?
No, Chase Brown is up in Cincinnati.
Who was the other guy?
He has Sean Tucker. That's who it is.
Tucker. Yes, Sean Tucker. But they drafted him. They drafted him. He went unrestricted free agent though. He wasn't. I mean,
he was
UFA
undrafted.
undrafted. That's what it was. So yeah, I'm not. Yeah, Rashad White will get a bucket of carries. As long as he can continue what he does in the training camp and show that he's the guy.
But their QB is Baker.
Right, and he will check down. He's not a runner, so he will check down. So great things for Rashad White. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's like I really think like Rashad White does have some opportunity. He is an older player as well, so he's going to get his opportunity. And then at 27, we have James Conner. This is at 87.4. This is actually going to be quite interesting with James Conner, especially since we know that the Cardinals will not be as talented. Well, I shouldn't say talented. The Cardinals won't be as good this year, seeing that they might be trying to get that number 1 overall pick, which they do end up having another pick as well, which they might end up having picks 1.01 and 1.02 next year, which will be very interesting.
That was the Texans?
Yes.
Ooh, really?
So a lot is going to be watched this year. Will they float out QB Kyler Murray, or would they just let him recover and actually go after Caleb Williams?
I think they will put Kyler out there like after say like I'm gonna throw a ballpark week 10, right? They'll let him play the last 6 to 8 weeks because you want some tape out there, some film out there. Huh? I guess I'm thinking you would. Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe they say, hey, go off his previous year so we can trade him, get like a 3rd round, 2nd round pick for him. So I can see I can see them sitting him a whole season and then trading him, or I can see them letting him play like 6 to 7 weeks to get some more current film, see how his knee looks, so they can trade him. Either way, yeah, he's getting traded. Either way, he's getting traded.
So if he doesn't play this year, what are your thoughts about Clayton Tune?
Clayton, the backup?
Yeah.
Who is that again? Is he a Jag?
No, man. Clayton
Tune. Where did he go to college?
He ended up going to. He's a rookie this year.
He's a rookie this year.
Yeah.
Where did he go to college? And how you spell his last name? Tune? I have no idea who Clayton Tune is.
Oh, he went to Houston.
He's 6'3", 220. I mean, he's got a build. That's all I have on him.
He was drafted up in the 5th round at pick 139.
And he's from where?
Houston. He went to Houston.
I went to University of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
5th round. I mean, hey, he's got a year to make something shake. He's essentially who was the guy for Houston Texans? Davis Mills. He's essentially Davis Mills. Here's your year. We're gonna put what we have out there and see what you can do to make us change our mind.
I see them just throwing him out there just to the Wolves, just so they can get an actual better pick. Because I don't think they're actually going to play Kyler Murray at all this year.
At all?
Mm-mm.
I can see that.
Why risk him out there when technically they're going to have like a tough decision on their hand? Like, are they going to have a suitor for Kyler Murray just to trade him away, or will they? But who's going to want to give up 2 first-round draft picks for him then?
Why do you have to give 2 first-round draft picks? Why?
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's what they probably might end up wanting is 2 first.
That's what they're going to want.
Maybe a first.
He'll go for like a second. Now the contract, somebody's going to have to eat it, right? Mm-hmm. But we all know how it goes. Every year there's 5 to 7 teams looking for a quarterback. He's a Pro Bowl quarterback. Somebody will grab him, but it won't be for 2 firsts. It probably won't be a first, period. Somebody's going to grab him. I mean, look, the Buccaneers. I'm assuming they probably have their first-round pick, though, and they'll probably go a quarterback. But if they don't, are they going to re-sign Baker? Doubtful. It's a bridge. He's a bridge quarterback at this point.
To be honest with you, they might just be bad enough just to get Drake May or Caleb Williams. You never know.
And who's the other one? There's another quarterback out there. I can't think of his name right now.
Oh, there's a lot of good QBs that are coming out this year.
So, right. Yeah. Kyler go somewhere. He'll go somewhere.
Yeah. Just got to be the person just willing to pay the price just to get old Kyler.
It won't be too.
But-
It won't be too first though.
And we'll see, man. People do crazy things up in the NFL. And then we got at 28, we have David Montgomery, which is being drafted at 87.7, which he is replacing Jamal Williams, which is actually going to be quite interesting to see. Will he take that Jamal Williams role last year that ended up ranking him up in the top 13? It's going to be quite interesting to see how the Lions use him and their new rookie, Jahmyr Gibbs. What do you think?
See, I think Dave Montgomery is better than Jamal Williams. I believe he can do more because he can catch the ball a little bit as well. You know, he's not running on hell of a routes, but he can catch the ball as well, better than Jamal Williams can. I do think it will be. You'll see David Montgomery start the season off right as one of the depth chart. Jahmyr Gibbs will be 2, but I also see Jahmyr Gibbs run in the slot. Well, I guess you have. Who's the wide receiver? Does Amon is he a slot? Is he the slot guy, or is he he's a slot guy?
You got Sam Laporta too.
You got Sam Laporta. You got with Jameson Williams gone the first 6 weeks. Jahmyr, they're gonna find a way to get the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs. It's going to be a 2-back system. With I can see Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs on the field at the same time. I can see that.
Oh yeah, they're definitely going as any coordinator. Brian Johnson already said he's going to use Jahmyr Gibbs, which I bet you he will also be having that dual threat type of deal with Sam Laporta.
You know what?
You have David Montgomery also right there up in the backfield as well.
Remember how Mark Ingram and AK played? Mm-hmm. That's how it's going to be. That's exactly how it's going to be.
And both of them was actually kind of, I think, might have been top 15, top 20 backs whenever they did do it.
Both of them. Agreed.
And then we have at 29, we have Javonte Williams at 93.5. He is recovering from an actual ACL injury, which was but then you see all out there people saying that he'll be ready by is it training camp or week 1?
I'm not buying it. He had an ACL, he had a meniscus, and he had something else. Did he have something else? He essentially had.
I can't.
But I'm just asking what else did he tear? He essentially had what J.K. Dobbins had, right? J.K. Dobbins had to stop in the middle of the season, get a cleanup, and miss 4 weeks.
Yeah.
He's not. He might come out and start like J.K. Dobbins did week 1, but he's not going the whole season.
It's going to be interesting to see what.
He tore too much.
But then we also have at number 30, we have James Cook at 96.9. What are your thoughts about James Cook this year and that 96.9 position?
Just before we get off of Javonte Williams, tore his ACL, LCL, and posterolateral corner in his right knee. So I'm guessing is that the meniscus? Maybe it wasn't the meniscus. I guess that's PCL. Is that PCL? No,
PCL.
What's posterolateral corner? I don't know. But he told 3 different things: ACL, LCL, and posterolateral corner in his right knee in October. It's not happening. He won't last the whole season. He won't play all 16 games or whatever. Okay, sorry about that. James Cook, he is so he will be he's going to be the Kareem Hunt. Now, I see him just being a third down back. I think Damian Williams is your first running back 1 depth chart. They're going to have him around the goal line. They're going to start the game with Damian Williams. Damian Harris, Harris.
Damian Harris, yeah.
And then James Cook come in on third down. That's what it's going to be. That's it. You should get some pass catching, but Josh Allen likes to run the ball, so he don't want to dump off that much because he'll use his legs.
Yeah, that's very true right there. And with that being said, then we also have some honorable mentions, roughly that should finish up in the top 30. They could actually be switched around. Interesting to see what Alvin Kamara ends up doing this year, especially with what he's going through right now. We don't know if he's going to get suspended or not. If he doesn't, then definitely you'll know he'll be up in the top 30. But then you also have the rookie in Zach Charbonnet, which did get drafted this year in the second round with his tandem. So we'll see how Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet actually work together, which I can see it as like what we just talked about before. It could be like that Alvin Kamara and then like Mark Ingram type role.
Yeah.
That little thunder and lightning like back in the day that Jonathan Stewart and then D'Angelo Williams had.
Exactly.
It'll be very interesting to see how these two work together. I think it's going to be a good situation. A lot of people are fading Zach Charbonnet and Ken Walker because of that, but I think personally that those are two backs that you would probably want. But me personally, I probably would take Zach Charbonnet over Kenneth Walker, though.
Really? And why would you say that? What did you see
because,
from Charbonnet? Go ahead.
Just because, like, how his lateral movement, like, just how I mentioned before, I see him as, like, the Mark Ingram, and, like, I can see him taking on that Marshawn Lynch type of role. Like, he's not as fast as Kenneth Walker, but I think he can do more things than what Kenneth Walker can do. Because if the Seahawks didn't think he couldn't do either the same or like as much, they would have never taken him in the second round. And that shows a lot based off where they placed him in the draft in the second round and by taking him early. Then the one that's going to be very interesting that I think if Javonte Williams does not play, Samaje Perine in Denver is going to be quite interesting. He could end up cracking the top 30 up in the ADP if Javonte doesn't go, because he would end up being pushed into that lead type back.
That's going to happen at least about half the season.
And then I definitely had to bring up the backfield for the Commanders because you got Antonio Gibson and then you got Brian Robinson. These two guys are pretty much being drafted around the exact same ADP. I mean, around the exact same, probably like one or two positions difference. And lately, Antonio Gibson, which we already knew Antonio Gibson was up in the doghouse, he has been getting praised lately by Ron Rivera. And we know that the new OC, Eric Bieniemy, might be able to use him in a particular type way, sort of similar to that Kareem Hunt type of guy. And we all know that Antonio Gibson was a receiver in college at the beginning, and then later on ended up being like a running back. So he might be able to pull some of that out of him. And good old Sam Howell throwing him the ball.
So those hands are there. He's got those hands.
He has the hands. So what are your thoughts about this honorable mention, Mike? Is there any players that you think that should have been on the honorable mention that might end up cracking the top 30?
I can see Charbonnet. So out of those five, which one I think can crack the top 30? See, I think Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson will probably hold each other back. Samaje Perine, I would probably say Perine. I'm gonna say Perine. He's with the
Broncos.
Yeah, Broncos. Yeah, because I don't see Javonte Williams being ready. He won't be a full go. He's gonna get out there and try. But nah, out of 17 games, I'm gonna give Javonte Williams 7 games. And I don't know who's behind Samaje Perine, but if he's getting a full workload, just like how he got a full workload up in Cincinnati and balled out a little bit of time, he'll get that. So I'm gonna give it Perine because I think that Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker is gonna kind of cancel each other out, along with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. And then AK, I just don't know what's gonna happen with him. We just don't know.
Okay.
So, out of those five, I'll pick Perine.
Yeah, I really don't think they're going to cancel each other out, Charbonnet and then Kenneth Walker. I think they're going to feed off each other.
I think they'll feed off each other, but I don't think they'll feed off each other enough for both of them to get into top 30. I think they're going to go with, I guess, the hot hand. But I know they want, just like back in the day when they had Chris Carson and they had, who was the other one kept getting hurt? It's always hurt. He's with the Eagles now. What is his name?
Yeah,
He's with the Eagles. No, with the Eagles now. No, it's from the Seahawks. with Chris
From
Carson.
you talking about Rashad Penny?
Rashad Penny, right? So they Pete Carroll always wanted to have like a two backfield, but injuries kept derailing that. So as an aside, don't sleep on the Seattle Seahawks this year because they have.
That's why I say they're probably going to be up in the top 30, both of them.
They have a real good offense, and that defense is coming along. Don't sleep on the Seahawks. Geno got weapons. If you're gonna get somebody off that team as the draft, go with Geno Smith. Geno Smith would probably he would be a top 10 fantasy quarterback and a top 10 quarterback this year. Yes.
Okay.
Because he got weapons. He has weapons. Yeah. Yes. Bold statement. I don't like to sit in that bold because he led the team in completion percentage last year. But yeah, watch out for Geno Smith. If I'm getting anybody on the Seahawks today, if I gotta get first, I'm going with Geno Smith.
Okay. And what I was also going to bring up too, whenever you mentioned the actual backfield, we can go back to Pete Carroll's days up in college where he had that Lindell White and then Reggie Bush. That's why I said I can see both of those running backs actually finishing up in the top 30. Maybe like you might see one finish like top 15-ish and the other one might be like 26.
26.
15, like 26, 25, like 10 spots from each other, but I still think that they both could finish up in the top 30.
That's definitely gonna be interesting to see. Like, who do you start? You have both of them. Who do you start?
Hey, you start whoever you might start both of them.
Who do you start?
Like, hey, if you got both of them up on your team, you got to start both of them.
I mean, geez, if you don't have a good one or two, yeah. Man, who do you start? That's what I don't like when it comes to fantasy. Like, I don't want to have to figure out who am I going to start because I don't know who's getting with the rock, who's going to get fed this Sunday. No, but that's why you have your RB1s for your team, your RB2s,
and based off like where they're being drafted, like if we actually want to go look at it, we can go back a little bit and just see. So we know. Kenneth Walker is getting drafted at 51.9. And are you able to pull up where Zach Charbonnet is actually getting drafted?
101.8. He's just 50 picks later.
So 1.01.8 is roughly around, what's that, the 9th round?
10th round.
Late 9th round. Then you have Kenneth Walker actually being drafted in the late 4th round.
4th round.
Or like early 4th round, technically. 51.9, which is like, I'll just round up to 52. So, it's kind of like I could see it. That's why I said, if you're doing best ball and you got both of these type of running backs, I feel like Zach Charbonnet is the better value. And that's when we can go to this next segment, the right price. And like during this segment in the right price, we're actually going to see which of the top 30 running backs that we saw based off of Underdog's ADP is at the right price. So do you want me to start or do you?
Go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead.
So one person that I think that is at the right price, you just mentioned him, is Zach Charbonnet. I think he's at the right price based off of his draft position at was like 101.1.
8.
Okay, 101.8. Which, like what we just mentioned like before, you have Zach Charbonnet, which was drafted up in the 2nd round. He's going to Pete Carroll's offense, which Pete Carroll did end up having that Reggie Bush and that Lindell White, even though, yes, we know it's not college or anything like that. But I physically see Zach Charbonnet playing that actual Lindell White role. He's probably going to be the goal line back, which if he's the goal line back,
he's bigger.
Then he's going to pick up some of the bulk of the carries. But then we can also, currently right now, looking at the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker played in only 15 games this year, and his rushing total was 1,050 yards on 9 touchdowns scored.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had 100 plus on his 100+ yard games. He had 5 of those.
Mm-hmm.
He also hauled in 27 receptions last year for 165 yards. Hence the reason why right there I said I personally can see Zach Charbonnet doing the same numbers, but he can also catch though. And
Kenneth Walker can catch too. They
He
were knocking him. They were knocking him when he came in, but go ahead.
he's not that route specialist like he just does flare routes. He can catch and everything, but we also can go back to his tape up in Wake Forest and him up in Michigan State. He really didn't run those type of routes or coming out of the backfield. It was more just like dump balls. And from the 27 receptions, you can tell like right there, like where he is. But then we can also go, if we want to actually take a look even deeper, which I think that we should, we're going to go a little bit deeper into the red zone inside the 20-yard line. 7 of his touchdowns came from like inside, or 7 of his 9 touchdowns came from inside the 20-yard. He had 43 attempts for 148 yards, which averaged out to be 3.4 yards a carry.
Mm-hmm.
And from that also shows that he was able to get into the end zone. But with Zach Charbonnet coming in, could that be Zach Charbonnet's carries now coming into the league? Even though we know that they was able to see that Kenneth Walker can do it, I think it's going to be interesting up in this backfield. But I really like Zach Charbonnet, and I think he is one of the guys for the right price later on. There are some.
I mean, at the 8th, 9th round, that's not a bad get because think of all who's gone at that time, right? Or who's available.
And then technically, if we're looking at this, technically he would be like a RB3 type guy that you're picking. You get your RB3 in the late 9th round, that can actually have major upside to possibly be an RB2. I think that's a good value right there. And you can end up stacking, if you're doing best ball leagues out there, you can end up getting that stack with Zach Charbonnet, Geno Smith, and either DK, Tyler Lockett, or JSN.
Mm-hmm. He's going around. I think James Cook is at 97 overall. Mm-hmm. Alvin Kamara is at 100. So he's at 101. AJ Dillon's right behind him at 102. So he's going, and then internal gets is around 106. So out of AK, we don't know what he's going to do. I think AJ Dillon will have a pretty good year because I do think Green Bay is going to run the ball a lot. And I would take him over. I'm taking over Antonio Gibson. Agreed. I'll take him over James Cook too. Mm-hmm. So getting him where you're getting him, yeah, I agree. They got him behind Javonte Williams. I think that should definitely be reversed. I would probably reverse him. Javonte's at 19.9. Yeah, I would move Zach Charbonnet over Javonte.
But we also know this is just being recently picked up from, I think, like last week. So the numbers haven't been updated this week. So it could end up changing, could end up slipping. So we don't know who's going to end up cracking it.
Right. You're going to find out more as training camp. So as training camp goes and you're hearing things come out of training camp, Charbonnet is taking him and Kenneth Walker 50-50. His ADP will shoot up. Definitely.
Do you have a guy out there that you think might actually be the right price? His ADP?
I think that I'm going to go real easy. The number 2 running back they have, Austin Eckler. They got him going at 8.8, second running back overall. In my rankings, I had him at 3rd overall. Behind, okay. I actually had, so I was at that. So I had him at 3rd overall. He's in a contract year, right? So he's gonna want to prove himself again and again and again. Now he is 27 years old, and with the quarterback, my man Justin Herbert and Kellen Moore calling the plays, he won't get near as the dump offs, right, as he did last year, because hopefully nobody injuries afforded him to get those dump offs, but they want to throw the ball down the field. But I still think that the talent, his skill set, him being able to catch the ball and run the ball, I can see him finishing 2. I can still see him finishing 2.
You can still finish.
Finished. I got him at 3. As I'm looking now and thinking, yeah, I mean, I see him at definitely top 5. I definitely see him at top 5. Finishing top 5. I see him at between 2 and 5. I definitely do, and they have him at 2. So, yeah, I definitely see that because he's in a prove year, right? Go ahead.
So, do you think? Because we all do know that every preseason, every running back that has been ranked number 1, I personally do not think that there is any running back out there that has finished at number 1 when they was ranked number 1 in the preseason.
That was Christian McCaffrey was ranked number 1, right? Well, as of right now, he's ranked number 1. Yeah, I don't have Christian McCaffrey. I do not have him. You're gonna be shocked. I do not have Christian McCaffrey in my top 7.
Okay. I don't.
Top 7.
I don't have rankings. I just have like 12 guys that like opportunity wise, I can see finishing up in like the upper 10, upper 12. No, I don't rank my guys.
You don't rank your guys. You're not a big ranker.
Yeah, this is, as you can see right here. Since we're rolling over, he wanted to see the rankings.
So this is what you think, right? This is yours, no?
Yeah, but I'm not ranking them like 1 through.
So this is not your order. So
it's not my order. This is just me putting them in.
So you don't have you don't. So who's your number 1 then? If Chris McCaffrey's not your number 1, who's your number 1?
I don't know. There's a lot of guys out there that can actually be in that number 1.
Jonathan Taylor. Of course, there's a lot of guys, but I mean, who's your number 1? You got to have a number 1. Who you think is going to finish RB1 this year? Let's put that out there.
It's quite difficult right now because you got Jonathan Taylor.
Of course.
He's holding out. He could end up being the number 1, especially since he lost it last year, being ranked number 1.
You mean he's holding out?
Well, he's trying to get his contract this year.
This is his 4th year?
He's trying to get paid. He doesn't have a 5th year deal.
He was drafted the second round.
Mm-hmm. He was drafted up in the same round with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So there's a lot of good players on here that I think this is my list of guys that I think that can end up finishing up in the top 12. And what people might be interested in is when they see like Jahmyr Gibbs, which I think this can either be Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery.
Christian, you can't even answer the question. So let's assume that Jonathan Taylor gets paid, right? Let's see they come out with Jonathan Taylor, give you a 3-year deal, 4-year deal, whatever. He's happy. He's back at training camp. Everybody, Dalvin Cook gets on the team. Let's say Dalvin Cook goes to the Miami Dolphins, right? So everybody's on the team. Everybody's happy. Prediction to finish 1 overall this year. I'm putting your feet to the fire.
You can put it to the fire right now, but right now it's hard to say. Like any of these 12 guys, I think can end up finishing number 1.
Of course,
but I do know. If I had to show the money and then just put a little wager on it, the guy I think personally that would finish number 1 and would be Jonathan Taylor, I think, personally.
Jonathan Taylor. Okay.
I think he's trying to get his crown back.
Mm-hmm.
But the only reason why I'm saying Jonathan Taylor is because of what he has around him this year.
Of course.
Even though we know he does have a rookie in like Anthony Richardson, this is not no ordinary QB. Mm-hmm. Similar to how people was trying to compare him to like Cam Newton and things like that. Yes, he's big, like Cam Newton, but he's not Cam Newton. Like this
Right.
guy is faster than Cam Newton.
He is.
And he is the pure dual threat in a running back.
He
I mean,
is.
up in a QB, not a running back, but he has that ability to actually run the ball, which can get, instead of that 8-9 man up in the box, you're going to have to respect that because of what he can do on the field. And a lot of people thought he wasn't going to do what he's actually doing right now, even though it's like OTAs and they're just out there just getting better each and every day. A lot of people thought he was going to be way behind the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then according to the Colts beat writers, he's a little ahead of what people thought he was going to be and him picking up the offense. So if I had to show the money and then put some money down and finish the number one, I would go with Jonathan Taylor.
Thank you. We have an answer, y'all. Thank you. I had to pull it out. I had to pull it out, but I had to pull it out. But we got an answer now.
But for the people that are just listening up on the podcast and everything, the 12 running backs that I do have mentioned are I have Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Jonathan Taylor, Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Ramondre Stevenson, and these two guys that are coming up. I know people might be shocked that I put them up in the top 12. But Alexander Madison, and the reason why I put him in the top 12 because if he is taking and replacing what Dalvin did in the numbers, then they are similar running backs. We both can actually look at the stats. Even though he hasn't been a true starter, that's the one thing that's actually going to hurt him this year, is seeing if he can last the full 17 games. And if he can last the full 17 games, he can end up being the starter. Because if we actually look at the stats of Dalvin Cook compared to last year and some of the stats that he ended up doing, Dalvin Cook only played in 13 games last year. He had 249 attempts, which ended up giving him 1,159 yards, which ended up averaging out to be 4.7 yards a carry. Then he also got, in the receiving game, 34 receptions on 224 receiving yards. And if you look at that, his snap share ended up being 608, which is 53% of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you look at what Alexander Madison did, he played in 16 games, but we already knew what type of back Alexander Madison was. He's like a spell back. Just spelling, like, even though him and Dalvin Cook, anytime Dalvin Cook went down for those long runs and got winded, here comes Alexander Madison coming in. And seeing since both of them was like similar in stature, both had dreads, both had single digit numbers. Whenever you actually watching the games out there, and I did it personally, like I'm watching the games, I'm looking, I'm seeing like, oh my goodness, like, yes, Dalvin Cook just got me a touchdown from the 3-yard line. Then come to find out it was Alexander Madison, because they had similar numbers. And I was a little upset because I personally am a big Dalvin Cook fan with him coming from Florida State. But back, and not me getting off the tangent, he did have 134 yards for 491, which only ended up being 3.7 yards a carry, which isn't good. Mm-hmm. But he didn't have the same work that like Dalvin had. His was more of like spelling him off and things to that nature. Then he ended up with 32 receptions for 228 yards, which he did have one touchdown for that. And that's why, like, we're looking at the numbers and we're going back and forth. We're going to also end up showing and telling you what he ended up doing in the red zone, which you had Dalvin Cook had 39 attempts, which shows you, okay, they was giving Dalvin the ball, feeding him on that goal line. And he ended up getting 6 touchdowns. But the yards, and this is where I think the big difference is actually going to be. So Dalvin Cook had 39 attempts for 88 yards, which only ended up being 2.3 yards a carry. But then you have Alexander Madison. Yes, we know like the numbers are actually low, but this just gives you a gist of like if he can keep doing this, what it could end up being. You have, it's if like you don't know what can happen, but he got 9 attempts last year for 40 yards, which ended up being 4.4 yards a carry, and he had 3 touchdowns. If he does end up assuming that role as being Dalvin's replacement, which that's what everybody's thinking, that's what I'm thinking also as well, I can see him being in the top 12 this year, especially seeing where he's actually being drafted at, being around like the 25th, 24th overall. But we know that can end up going up higher. Hence the reason why I pulled and threw that curveball out there, just to see how people end up thinking. Just, hey, tell me what you think up in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, comment, share. Like, hey, tell me if you think I'm wrong, that like Alexander Madison is not going to be a top 12.
I think you're wrong.
Hey,
I'm just sitting here right now. I think you're
you
wrong.
have your opinion.
I do have my opinion.
Those are the stats that I laid out. Like he has the opportunity, he has the ability, especially now since Dalvin is actually being gone.
He's 25.
He's still young-ish. He has that opportunity. And from one thing about Alexander Madison and Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison has actually been healthy his career.
Because he ain't been long to get hurt. That's why.
Hey, we'll see this year. We'll see what's going to end up happening.
When you only getting 74 attempts in 17 games, you better not get hurt. Yeah.
74 attempts. So he had 134. Pretty much had half of what Dalvin had.
I'm not seeing where you got 134 attempts. This is last year.
Yeah.
He had 74 attempts rushing, and he had 15 receptions. He only had 374 total yards last year. What are you looking at? He's quiet. He's quiet, everyone. He's quiet.
Nope. Oh yeah, I forgot what stats I was in.
What were you looking at?
Was it 2021? Oh,
wait
yeah,
a minute.
2021.
Here we go. We talking about 2022. He only had 74 rushing attempts. He better be healthy.
But anyway, even though I gave y'all the wrong stats, I still think that Alexander Madison, if he ends up reversing the roles, because Dalvin ended up having 841 snaps compared to Alexander Madison's 297. And Dalvin played all 17 games last year, which he was not hurt whatsoever.
Now, let me ask you this. Did they draft the running back? The Vikings? Who's behind that? Who's behind Alexander Madison? Go ahead.
So behind Alexander Madison right now, you have Ty Chandler, which they drafted the previous year. He's sort of the similar style as like a Dalvin, but he's like a change of pace, speed type back.
My prediction is I do not think he's going to crack top 12. He obviously he'll start the season. He'll be the number one back on the depth chart. I think he'll get some tick. If I had to split the carries, top of my head, I'd give him 65, 35. So maybe I guess is that an opportunity to be an RB1 top 12 back? Maybe, and with the Vikings, they have no defense, so they're going to be offense all the time, right? Kirk Cousins will throw the ball again. Then they added the another wide receiver, Jordan Addison. So I guess he'll get the opportunity, but I just don't see it, and I also don't see. So the Vikings, they won 7 or 8 games by one score. That's not happening again. They went 12-5 last year. 12-5, 13-4, something like that. Yeah, that's not happening again this year. I'm gonna give him 10-7. I'm gonna give him 10-7, 11-6 wins this year. He'll probably be coming from playing from behind, which will limit them being able to run the ball with Alexander Madison. Just my thought, just what I'm feeling. But go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish your distribution. I think you have 2 more players left.
Yes, I got 2 more players left, but if we even go back to, this is just going back to the actual finishes. So at the 12th overall, it was Leonard Fournette, and that's with, and once I say these stats, like, y'all tell me, like, if I'm wrong for actually thinking this now.
You said 12th overall was what now? Leonard Fournette. He finished 12th overall?
Leonard Fournette last year finished 12th overall, and ended up being, and this is PPR stats, ended up having 227.1 points per game, or like for the full season.
Mm-hmm.
And honorable mention behind him at 13 and 14 are Jamal Williams and Najee Harris, and they had 225.9 and 223.5.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take Leonard Fournette's fantasy points per game, that was only 14.2. But then if we look a little bit deeper, he only had 189 attempts for 668 yards, which ended up being 3.5 yards a carry. But then on the other hand, what he ended up getting more are those receiving yards, which he ended up getting 73 receptions for 523 yards for 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, if you look at Dalvin only had 237.8 points, and he finished at 11. So if we're actually going back and looking at what I broke down for Alexander Madison, yes, we know that. Do you think Alexander Madison can do 668 yards this year? I think he can.
Yes. 3 touchdowns, 668 yards. Mm-hmm.
You just physically just said that. Now this would end up doubling what Dalvin did last year. But can you see him getting 523 yards? If we know that they're going to have to throw the ball a lot, if he's going to be on the field a lot, possibility he could end up getting that. But we don't know. Like, I don't know how he's going to get it, but he can end up finishing up in the top 12, in my opinion.
How's his hands? Is he going to a rap runner, or is he going to be like first, second down, and then touching and coming on third down?
No, he was just like a Dalvin. Like, he can play all 3 downs, personally, I think. That's the reason why, because I was shocked whenever they did draft him out of Boise State. I was like, okay, he's going to be a good handcuff to Dalvin Cook, even though anytime Dalvin Cook goes down, you know that you have a guy with a similar make and model can end up doing the exact same thing. But then, as my honorable mentions that I do have on there, I had Alexander Madison, which we just talked about, and Cam Akers. I can see Cam Akers finishing in the top 12 if he can continue doing what he did last year.
Those last 4 games.
He ranked number 4 overall on the last 4 games. If he continue doing something like that, and with Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp coming back healthy, he could end up being up in the top 12.
Are you afraid of them re-signing Sony Michel, and are you afraid of them drafting Zach Evans?
No, not at all.
Cam Akers is. I'll give you this. He is in a contract year. He's in a contract year. So if he's gonna get a chance to get a little bit of extra money, this is this year to try to ball out. I'll give you that. I will give you that.
And the reason why, like, you can also think about it like this: like, why are they bringing Sony Michel back? Maybe because they don't have anybody behind Dalvin, and they want somebody that actually knows the offense. He's already played there already.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who did he play for last year? Can you tell me?
Who Sony Michel played for last year?
Yeah.
He played for them, didn't he?
I don't think so.
He played for the Chargers last year. He played for the Chargers last year. That's who he played for.
Okay.
For the
See,
Chargers,
I didn't even know he played for. What was his stats and everything?
36 carries, 106 yards, no touchdowns, 9 receptions, 53 yards, no touchdowns. Yeah,
Okay,
but pathetic.
and let's look at.
Man, he got two championships. One with the Rams, I guess, and one with the Patriots. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, pedestrian, pathetic. So yeah, I see you. So you're saying you're not fearing him taking any snaps from Cam Akers. I can see that.
No, not at all. Like I don't see. And then you also got to think about last year. I don't know if you knew this. That the Rams finished dead last in total
pathetic.
offense, which is really pathetic. Which it was so pathetic that it had Sean McVay thinking about walking away.
Well, now he paid for the Chargers last year. He didn't pay for the Rams last year.
No, I know. I'm just saying that not including Sony Michelle. I'm just saying that like they was that bad last year, and this is just me.
They're not going to repeat that.
Like we just giving the stats right here. Cam Akers had 188 attempts, which ended up being 4.2 yards a carry. That ended up being 786 yards on 7 touchdowns. And like what we just said before, previously, in those games that he played in, the last 4 games, he was playing like an actual that RB1 type running back, which they drafted him in the second round just to be. He had his opportunity. And it's like it wasn't like he was going up against some bad defenses. Like he went up against Denver, which was ranked up in the top echelon last year. I think like top 5, like top 10 defense. And the Rams beat them 51-14. And in that game, he had 23 attempts for 118 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns. And then he ended up hauling in 2 receptions for 29 yards. So, like, you have that. Then they also played against the Chargers, which he ended up having 19 attempts on 123 yards, which averaged 6.5 yards a carry. He didn't have any touchdowns that game, but he was producing out there with the rock in his hand, going over for second time that year of 100+ yards.
I mean, yeah, and they're obviously allowed to be better. Quarterback's back, the wide receiver's back. Yeah, they would not repeat. They would be better than what they were last year. Not much better, but they'll be better than what they were last year for them to get off. And like I said, he's in a contract year, so his potential is there for him to be a top 12 running back. Top 15 for sure. So yeah, I agree. Who's your last? The last
one is Dalvin Cook. Even though, like, that's just me, it was like really contemplating either Dalvin or those are the two that, yeah, I know Dalvin does not have a team right now, but I personally don't think Dalvin is not going to play this year at all. Somebody's going to sign him.
I agree. Somebody's going to sign him. He's the best of the free agent running backs that are out there.
Yes.
Because he's younger than Zeke, still fresher than Zeke, fresher than Lenny. Yeah, he's the best of the running backs that are out there. I agree. Now, he might command more, right? Yeah, he's the best out of there. So, who you left off the list, shocking, you just brought him up, Saquon. Why isn't Saquon on your list?
Just like what I just said is me, Saquon, with him saying he's going to hold out and everything, I personally can't put him in that type of list. That's why I said him and Dalvin was kind of like pushing it. Knowing like who, because if he says he ain't gonna play this year, then we can see like what his ADP's gonna end up being.
Well, yeah, but we gotta assume that. I think we want to assume that he gets signed and he's gonna play. So let's say this: if he gets signed back to the Giants. Where does he finish? Is he in the top 12?
If he signs back with the Giants, yeah, he'll be up in I can see him being up in the top 12.
Okay. What you didn't have on it, also Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about why you didn't have Derrick Henry on it?
It's just King Henry is getting up there in age. We know that he has the ability to be top 12.
Mm-hmm.
No ifs, ands, buts about it.
He had a pretty good year last year.
I want to make it interesting. Just don't want to say the basic top 12 all based off ADP. Anybody can do that. So I'm giving some nuggets out there for people to even think about and consider, like Alexander Madison and Cam Akers, that could have the potentially to finish in the top 12.
And you have, I see there's no Brees Hall. Where do you have Brees Hall?
He's roughly right there around the same, like him, Brees, Dalvin. They all can end up being. Okay. That's why I said it's interesting because Jahmyr Gibbs being drafted so high, that could be a guy right there based off my top 12 that could end up falling out because of he could end up not getting the actual touches that like people are thinking that he's going to end up getting up in that Brian, up in the OC's offense.
Mm-hmm. With Dave Montgomery there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, like, go and let me know, like, what's your top 12? Is yours like the ordinary top 12, like the ADP?
I mean, not, yeah, maybe some, but not in that order.
It doesn't have to be in order. It's just top 12. It's just figuring out who's going to finish up in the top 12.
Versus their ADP. Who's their ADP stopped at? 1, 2, 3, 4.
So if we go back to and looking at their ADP. So their ADP, they had Christian McCaffrey at 1, then number 2, Austin Eckler or Bijan Robinson at 2 or 3. Then they had Jonathan Taylor. Then they had Saquon at 5, Nick Chubb at 6. Then they had Tony Pollard at 7. Then Derrick Henry at 8, Josh Jacobs at 9, Ramondre Stevenson at 10, and Brees Hall at 11, and then Najee Harris at 12. We have already seen in the past that these rankings do not stay true based off. So just to make it a little interesting, people in the comments, don't tell me if you think that my statements that I put out there are just okay, put an okay in there, or was it like too bold of a statement to put out there? Go leave that down there up in the comments.
So yeah, Josh Jacobs was not in my top 12. He was not. They had Josh Jacobs at 9. He missed the top 12 by like 2 spots. Brees is still in there.
But the Raiders are going to be. The Raiders are going to end up being bad,
real bad. Saquon, Christian. I went pretty chalk. I had Jahmyr Gibbs in my top 12. Actually, I had Jahmyr Gibbs in my top 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I had Jahmyr Gibbs in my top 5.
Okay.
So he's in there. I had Josh Jacobs out. Everybody else is pretty chalky, just not in that, just in a different order. Everybody else is pretty chalky. Ramondre finished. Ramondre at 12. Ramondre's right at 12. So yeah, I had Josh Jacobs out. I had Jahmyr Gibbs higher. Everybody else is pretty chalky, just not in that order. Because I think Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. I think Saquon gets hurt. I think Derrick Henry is older. He may get hurt, and I don't think that Tony Pollard can take a RB1 pounding. I don't think he's built like that. I don't think he had a full workload. Now he can still, go off on for him catching right and receiving. So he probably still could finish. I do have him in my top 10, so he can still finish top 10. But yeah, I think I have him like right at 10.
So as of right now, Derrick Henry has had 1,750 attempts since he's been in the league.
That sounds low. That sounds low, Christian. You sure it's not more than that?
I'm just looking at the stats right here in his career.
Christian, that sounds low.
Because his rookie year, he had 110. In 2017, he had 176. In 2018, he had 215.
Well,
2019, he had 303. 2020, 378. In
how,
2021,
how many?
219.
How many did you say total attempts? Rushing?
1,750.
Oh, seven. Oh, you know what? Okay, 1750. You know what? I thought you said like 1,000, 050, 1050. That's why I said that's a little low. No, okay, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You are
And
right. That's a lot of miles.
that's a lot of miles up on a guy that's he is a different breed, and he's 29.
29. Which is why I drafted Tajay Spears. And I drafted one of our drafts we're in together. That's why I drafted him.
But that's also like another guy out there that I don't know if many people have him up on the radar. We know Tony Pollard is going to be an interesting cat in this year with Zeke being gone. But people need to keep an eye on Malik Davis, which he would end up being that backup to Tony Pollard this year, which he would play that Zeke type role. But then you also got Deuce Vaughn, who they did end up drafting this year, which he could end up being that change of pace type back for them. Because Malik Davis is 5'11" and he's 202. So a little solid, a little thick type running back. You saw him last year.
Pause that.
Yeah, we're gonna hit that pause right there. But just saying, like he was out there doing this thing.
Yeah,
whenever he did get the opportunity.
I don't think Tony Pollard would have had a full workload like that. Like everybody's thinking.
Nah, that's why that's one guy right there that I was really contemplating in putting him in the top, in like the top 12 running backs.
I think he'll still make it because he can catch the ball, right? So I think he'll still make it, and Dak will dump off. So I think he'll still make it with his receptions.
Okay. Anybody else you think that can end up being up in the top 12? That
he had 39 targets, 371 yards last year, 3 touchdowns. Yeah. Like I said, I had Jahmyr Gibbs higher, and I had Ramondre. I thought I had somebody. I had Jahmyr Gibbs, and I had Derek. Did they have Derek in there? Oh, I had him. Derek Henry. Yeah, I had Jahmyr Gibbs, and I had Najee. Najee was higher too. I think Najee he'll have a bounce back year this year with their O-line better. Kenny Pickett taking another step forward. Yeah,
and them also getting tracking that tackle as well, just to help out Kenny Pickett. And people saying that Najee done slimmed down a little bit as well.
Has he?
So that's a little interesting right there.
That is.
Yeah, it's making me think twice about me trading him away.
Trade. See, I think Christian McCaffrey. I think he's gonna get injured. I have no reason why. How? Just a feeling. I think he'll get nicked up because I feel like San Francisco was always nicked up. So it's like a black cat running over there. So he's gonna get he went a full season without getting nicked up. He's gonna get a little nicked up this year.
But you also got to remember too, like when he did get hurt, he was in Carolina, and Carolina used him like he was the only guy out there,
right?
Like giving him every crazy astronomical attempts, which ended up wearing and tearing down his body, which caused him to be injured. So he's not in the same predicament out there up in San Fran. He doesn't have to be the guy. They're gonna give him what he can handle, maybe 24 attempts.
Right.
Like he might end up getting 30 touches, but from that 30 touches, it might just be like 19.
30 touches a game?
Yeah.
No, he ain't getting 30 touches a game. That's a lot. He getting hurt, he getting 30 touches a game.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that he's like, hey, if he's getting 30 touches, that can be receiving or that can be running.
I don't care. If he gets 30 touches a game, he's gonna get hurt. Even if it's 20 and 10, 15.
It doesn't mean he's catching all of them.
I said 15 and 15, 15 rushing, 15 receiving. He's not getting 30 touches. Now what you still got Debo, you got Kittle, there's another running back. He's not even gonna he's gonna start a running back, but he's gonna be split out a lot too. He's gonna be in the slot a lot too. So whoever whoever the running back is, when he's in the slot, go get some carries. He ain't getting 30. That's a bit much. I would give him 22, maybe 20, 25 tops. If you want to go 17 rushes, 8 catches, I mean, that's still hella productivity to where he can still be like I said, top 12. I just got a feeling he'll get nicked up because he didn't get nicked up last year. That's the only reason. I don't. That's it. Doesn't make any sense. That's what I feel. I think Saquon will get nicked up. He holding out. I think Saquon was nicked up last year, toward the end of the year. But he kept playing because he needed to get a contract. And so I think he'll get nicked up. Just what I feel. Okay. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. I think Nick Chubb is going to have I think Nick Chubb could lead. Bet Nick Chubb to lead the league in rushing this year. Make that one of your bets. I don't know what the odds are, but bet Nick Chubb to lead the league in rushing this year. Hold me the money. Bet it.
So let me go in and
I wish I knew what the odds were right now.
Let's go in and look and see if their odds are out there for rushing leaders.
Jonathan Taylor might have the best odds or the number one odds. Let me see if it's going to tell me what I want.
So this is just me saying it right now.
It's the first time I've seen this too. It's just me. Go ahead.
So the odds came out on the 14th.
I have not seen them. A week ago, I have not seen them. This is just off the top of my head. Go ahead. What does it say?
You got DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Caesar, and Bet365 have Nick Chubb and Jonathan Taylor both similar bets across finishing up in the top leading rushers this year.
Plus 750. For those who don't know, plus 750 is essentially 7.5 odds to 1. Right? So, yes. He's going to get, yes.
It's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be able to do it.
He's going to do it. He's going to get, long as he stay healthy, he's going to get it. Because you don't have Kareem Hunt now. It's going to be all him. They're going to run him in. I think they're going to run him in the ground after this year.
Yeah. Possibility. And then we could go to that next segment of.
Wait a minute.
We're going to do that.
First of all, you're not going to speed past that. Like you didn't just say what you just said.
We're going to go to that wait a minute segment, which I had to hit that wait a minute because he up in here.
Wait a minute.
He up in here talking Nick Chubb being number one.
No, I said to lead the league in rushing. I didn't say he'll be number one overall.
That's leading the league in rushing.
That don't mean nothing because you lead the league in rushing. I mean, you're going to be number one overall. You'll be the number one running back.
Depends on how he out there.
He will lead the league in rushing this year.
Quite interesting. In this wait a minute segment, do you have anybody out there that you think deserves the right to be in this wait a minute segment?
Probably the obvious wait a minute segment on why Saquon, why haven't you signed yet? $13.5 million. Stop playing. Take that $13.5 million times 3-4 years. Stop. I mean, I'm hearing that you want 16. Wait a minute. Just take the 13 or 14. Yes, they overpaid Daniel Jones. I know it. He's a quarterback. It's that position. But take the 13.5. Stop playing. Take the 4. If you can get 14, get 14. But I don't think you can get much more than that.
Okay. It's interesting. So I just pulled up some stats from the NFL most regular season rushing yard leaders.
Jonathan Taylor will get paid too. I didn't realize this was last year. Yep. They're gonna pay him.
It depends on how much though. Like how much you think he's gonna be asking for.
I don't know. I don't know. See, I don't know the baseline on. I mean, Christian's getting 16. Derrick getting 15. I think AK getting 15. DK is like 12. He'll probably get 13, 14 million a year. See, when he get paid, if he gets like 13, 14 million dollars a year, well then now they might have a better ballpark for Saquon with the Saquon battle. Damn, if he getting 14, all right, give me 14 too. Give me 14 and a half. So yes, I think JT gets paid. I think he'll get around 14 and a half.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else you think you want to talk about, man?
No, that's all I have this week.
All right. Well, we do appreciate everybody for listening to the Cerberus Gridiron Podcast. It's been nice. It's been lovely. Stay tuned next week for episode 3.
So 3, we'll be talking about we want to talk about wide receivers next week.
Yeah, we can bring those wide receivers up next week. Just to give y'all a little sprinkle of what's going to be out there.
Oh yeah, I'm looking. Jonathan Taylor he turned 24 in January. Oh yeah, he's got at least 3 good years left in the tank. Probably 4. Pay that man. Stop playing,
and we're gonna end it up on that one.
Stop playing, coach. If you want your quarterback to be what he gonna be, you need to run a game. Stop playing. Stop playing.
So you're trying to say he like that booby? Give him the ball. He just trying to spin.
Give him the ball. I don't know. I don't even know who's behind Jonathan Taylor. What's his name? Hines or whatever. Pay that man.
That is incorrect.
It's not Hines. Who is it?
No, Hines is with. I thought Hines got traded to Buffalo. Behind him is good old Zach Moss.
Yeah, we ain't worried about it. Nobody. They switched. He was in Buffalo. Yeah, nobody. A Jag. Pay Jonathan Taylor. Quit playing.
So one guy that is interesting that I think might end up being the number 2 is Evan Hall. Keep an eye out up on him, and we'll end it there.
Number 2, what?
Behind Jonathan Taylor instead of Zach.
Okay. Oh, okay. So they have to run back.
Second string, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What round did he come in? You remember? 5th. Okay. So he won't put no pressure on JT. But yeah, I can see that. I agree with that. Too.
Nice little spellback type of deal. But all right, guys. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.
Everyone had a good evening. Spread love, not hate. Spread love, not hate.
Spread love, not hate.
Thanks for checking out another episode of Cerberus Gridiron Podcast, powered by Cerberus Fantasy Sports. Make sure you stay tuned for the next episode.